If you think Mad Max is the best action movie ever to come out of Australia, you've never seen Day of the Panther. Maybe you have. It doesn't really make that much difference. Day of the Panther is basically a mashup of Beverly Hills Cop and Miami Vice, with tons of fairly pedestrian but athletic martial arts. Standard plot. We open at the secretive and selective Temple of the Panthers, where old Zen master William Anderson is handing off the mantle to the next generation of kung fu crime fighters, Jason Blade and Linda, a young woman who happens to be Anderson's daughter. Cut to a dreary warehouse in Perth, Australia, of all places, where Linda is investigating a criminal cartel planning a drug exchange. As she sneaks about, cartel thugs in Halloween masks discover her, and, following a protracted fight scene, she's dispatched by Baxter, a loathsome thug, and the cartel's second-in-command. Hungry to avenge Linda's death, Jason, now in Perth himself, finagles a job as a bagman for the cartel, and we, meanwhile, are treated to another fight scene. Once on the inside, Jason meets Zukor, Nick Cage look-alike and leader of the cartel. The Perth police get wind of Jason's taste for vigilante justice and insist that he leave the matter of capturing Zukor, Baxter, and the rest of the drug dealers to legitimate law enforcement. Jason, of course, politely refuses. Sensing a showdown with Zukor and his gang, Anderson recruits his niece Jenna to the cause, and she and Jason soon become involved. You'd think Anderson might tire of casting young female relatives into harm's way, but I'm not a crime fighter, so I don't necessarily share their sense of priorities. A series of further fight scenes follow, as Jason, Jenna, and Anderson get closer to exposing Zukor's operation, while a jealous Baxter, sensing that Jason is muscling in on his gig and suspecting him of being a double agent, tries to learn his true identity and turns Zukor against him. As I say, thoroughly standard kung fu movie plot. And like many B-grade martial arts movies, this one has its fair share of problems. Right out of the gate, for instance, one feels the actress playing Linda has been miscast. I wasn't able to put my finger on it, but she seems uncomfortable in the role, and it's maybe just as well Linda leaves the film early, though we certainly all wished it could have been under better circumstances. That said, one of my favorite technical errors relates to Linda's final scene. Staked out in Australia, she calls Jason in Hong Kong to tell him she's making her move on the cartel. Jason catches an earlier flight to Perth to help her, but meanwhile she infiltrates the warehouse alone. The filmmakers here choose to intercut Linda's fight with the cartel with a montage of Jason's flight from Hong Kong, thereby giving the impression that her cat-and-mouse game with the criminals spans his entire booking, packing, flight, passage through customs, car rental, etc. One imagines Linda's legs were a damn sight more tired than Jason's arms by the end of it. The movie is full of inadvertent and semi-deliberate moments of humor, as when Jenna, obviously besotted, gives Jason an impromptu flash dance while he does pullovers at a strangely deserted gym. This sort of thing never happens to me, but then again, my last name isn't Blade. Also, near the end, the crime-fighting duo is investigating an amphitheater where the Zukor organization is planning to throw a no-holds-barred martial arts tournament and find themselves searching for drugs among papier-mâché props and a hand-painted Babe in the Wood sign. So apparently, when Zukor isn't hosting illegal kung fu death matches, he's staging junior high school plays. A lot of these problems are budget-related, of course. Aspiring to the brand of automotive showcasing typical of Miami Vice, the best Day of the Panther can muster is a red Trans Am. One of the movie's big disappointments for me is that it largely neglects shooting exteriors of Perth in favor of seedy warehouses and parking garages. I'm not familiar with any other film set in Perth, and I would have been curious to see more of it, but I'm guessing that the dreary location choices had to do with the inability to get downtown shooting permits. All that said, I was surprised to enjoy Day of the Panther. At its essence, you watch a martial arts movie for one thing only, and this movie delivers, with I'd estimate fully half its running time devoted to action scenes and fight choreography. The fight scenes are crisp and well executed, if a bit repetitive and very over-reliant on spin kicks. Yes, the spin kick is the bread and butter of the kung fu movie, but it is possible to overdo it. Until the final fight, Jason is hardly ever hit. I counted 4 times a lackey got one in on him, which undermines the suspense but also enhances the final fight, when the seemingly invulnerable Jason finally finds his match in Zukor's bruising deputy, Baxter. And in speaking of Zukor and Baxter, they are genuinely loathsome and unlikable. The importance of having a truly detestable villain in an action movie cannot be overestimated, but often is. In fact, in my opinion, the hero is usually less important to an action movie than the villain, which is good because to my mind the actor playing Jason is a little too friendly-faced and bulky to be entirely effective. In sum, though Day of the Panther isn't a movie to be taken terribly seriously, it can be enjoyed for its abundant fight scenes, tight pacing, moments of deliberate and accidental humor, the novelty of its setting, and the fact that the people who were making it seemed to be genuinely having a good time. Oh, and the shameless period soundtrack helps too.